Okay, great. Here we are. Good evening, Sabrina, and I would like to welcome Zoran Todorovic with us this evening. Hey, Zoran.
Hello. Hello, you. Happy to be with you this evening.
Just to tell everybody a little bit about Zoran before we launch into the topic of reality co-creation. Well, first of all, I've known Zoran for, I think, over 20 years. He is an amazing coach. He's a thought leader. He is a podcast host. He believes in human potential. He works with senior leaders and just everybody who wants to be better at what they do, I think is really what he does. He plays in evolution, and basically he's someone who touches consciousness in a way that I haven't seen many people do. So looking forward to our conversation today on reality co-creation. So Zoran, tell us a little bit more. Why did you choose this topic for this evening?
Besides Sabrina giving up her date to be here with me tonight, that was the major thing. I've created that reality. And she said yes, right, Sabrina?
Exactly. See,
so
what an amazing presentation Nancy made of you. So of course I had to be here.
Unbelievable. So, I must do something right? So yeah, I managed to create reality when she would say no to her date and yes to Zoran. So the reason why we chose this topic tonight is mostly because I feel now is the time that humanity on a global level is awakening. And this 2020 was is a catalyst for all of us to gain the powers and to start believing in our creative abilities and to really own the space that we are a conscious creators and then conscious co-creators of our life. And I felt, wow, if not now, when? And I believe this is a very relevant topic for people to listen in.
Absolutely. And so this is right on line with the things that we've been talking as well, Sabrina, and also in terms of, awakening consciousness in the world and for humanity, right?
Yeah, and I'm really interested by what you mean by conscious creators, because I think there's a deep desire, as you say, for the time being right and ripe for people to evolve into that next level of their own being. At the same time, I think there's a lot of chaos because people don't know how. And I'm wondering what thoughts you have, Zoran, on what that would look like, feel like, and some guidance, yeah, in some of the things that you've been thinking about on this level.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think the first thing right now in 2020 is that we needed to pause, right? All of us, we needed to stop and pause on a certain level in our business life, in our personal life, in our movement, in restrictions, in lockdowns. There's like break. And when we have this pause and break, that creates a little bit more space for people to start thinking, what do I want to do next? Or who do I want to become next? But also to revisit and reevaluate the life and to understand how did I end up being in this situation. And for me, the most important thing for all of us is to move away from being a victim of our own life. Sometimes people would say to me in a coaching conversation, leadership development, oh my God, I'm such a good person. I'm so amazing. I'm a good mother. I'm a good father. I'm a good relative. I do everything right. And these bad things are happening to me. I'm not happy in my life. I'm not content. And on top of everything, you have a global pandemic that is happening to me too. And it's very easy for all of us to sink into that space of hopelessness and, why is life so happening to me without any influence? And I think what I am inspired to do is go backwards to the space of saying to people, yes, all of this is happening around you. Yes, things can be tough. And yes, you are in charge with your own life and you are in charge in creation and you are a creator of your life. And to kind of as a first step, start believing that, and then unfolding later to see how actually everybody can do this.
And Zoran, I'm wondering, for people who might be listening and that sounds new to them or different, how can someone who experiences that, thought for the first time make it real? You know what I mean? It's because I think for some people that feel, oh yeah, but in reality, it's not that easy for them to even believe that.
Yeah, I know. And it's a huge topic, Nancy. Absolutely. When you land this onto somebody and you say to them, you are co-creating your reality with the laws of universe and you're a conscious creator, even if you don't know it, you are creating. People can be like, oh my God, how? This is the first reaction. Yeah. Then the second one, it's too much responsibility. Oh my God, now suddenly I'm responsible for everything, including my creation. I don't want it. I want life to happen to me. I don't want that responsibility.
Yeah.
And then the third level, it's like, I know this is the case, but I don't know the mechanics behind this. I'm not aware to how do I actually do this. And I think, Nancy, what you're saying, those are the three reactions that people might face immediately.
Yeah.
When you drop this big topic into people's lap.
And I'm just being realistic because I remember that time for myself where, that sounded so wonderful and scary. And at the same time, it felt far away. Like, I don't get it. There was that gap between how I viewed the world for a long time and that idea of actually I can play a part in my own reality, in my future, in what's going on, right? Instead of just saying, well, let's just wait and see, right?
So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, and Nancy, I share some of your experience, of of that gap or that sense of having been a victim as well, and then saying, how can I get out of it? What life is happening to me and not me making life happen. And so Zoran, I really see that as being, it sounds great to be able to co-create my reality. And at the same time, there I think many people, and I speak for myself as one of them, who might have an attachment to suffering, have an attachment to victimhood. Yeah. So how do we even help that person to have the spaciousness to even consider that they have a choice to take charge of their life and of their reality in a way that makes them feel more empowered? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big one, Sabrina, as well. And for me, the reason why I said if now, when it comes to people taking that choice, it's because sometimes the life has to become tougher and more challenging for the awakening to happen, for somebody to choose to create space to step into that ownership of their life instead of being a victim, and to understand, through the pure awareness, oh my God, look at me, I'm a victim. I've been that, you've been that, Nancy been that in my life. Certain situations, certain people can put you back into it. Relationships, like, oh my God, I lost my power completely. I'm completely victimized by this situation. But then the beauty of this is to regain that perspective and to have this space to observe yourself and to say, okay, here I'm victim, and I know I am in a driving seat, and I know with the right support structure, with right tools, with the good understanding of what are the mechanics behind the reality creation, I can elevate myself and I can choose to be in a driver's seat. It's not an easy step, as you know. It requires courage and vulnerability. We all need to be very courageous when we're vulnerable. But as we know from the development and coaching through many people, the rewards are amazing. When you choose to do that, suddenly, you feel that empowerment that you're talking about, Sabrina.
Yeah, and as you were speaking, I just thought, oh my goodness, what you just articulated was that big first step, which feels small, but it's actually big, is to recognize, for my ego to recognize in this moment that I see myself as a victim, to even articulate it, to have it in this space. It feels like it doesn't feel like a nice word, because none
Yeah.
of us like to feel ourselves as having victim mentality. Yeah.
Mhm.
But as soon as I recognize that I'm there, there's a sense of, okay, I now know this, I can do something about that. And that ego state is sometimes difficult to face.
Yeah.
That's it.
And Zoran, I'm wondering, so if somebody is in that state and they've said, okay, I've recognized, this state that maybe I've been in, and I'm choosing to move forward and to take ownership of that, what's the
Mhm.
next step? What are the possibilities?
The next step is to engage in creation and in conscious creation. And first of all, it's the belief that creation happens naturally. When you look around yourself, especially if you observe the nature creates in a natural way. It's an unfolding of reality all the time. Nature is ever evolving, ever growing, ever changing. So that's first thing, you believe in it. You look into your body as well. Your body changes and evolves and creates all the time, in the good and bad way. Sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, oh my God, who is that person? I really, really changed here. What did I create? And sometimes you think, oh my God, I look great. So creation happens naturally, right? Who is this person? So that first step, Nancy, is creation happens naturally. It's part of our life. And when you relax into it and you begin observing it, then you step into the second step, which is how do I create and co-create my reality? And from my perspective, there are a few simple steps. If you create using your masculine energy, and we have feminine and masculine energy, yin and yang, in a masculine way, first of all, you set clear intentions of your life. So you know what do you intend to create. Example can be, I intend to create a wonderful, loving relationship. I want to be in an amazing relationship. Currently, I'm single, for example, and my intention is to have this deep intimacy. I'm not, but somebody can be. Deep intimacy, and I want to create this wonderful relationship. So you have a clear intention of what you want to create. The second step after this, it's vision. And it's really, really important to visualize, to see that happening in your life before it's happening, and to use the different techniques of, vision boarding, creating a collage, journaling, meditating. Different people vision in different ways. But part of our imagination, the creative power of what we can imagine happening, it's so important, because as some of the thought leaders said in the past, the moment you imagine it, it's already part of your creative process. So you vision it, you imagine it, you see how do you feel in that relationship, that partnership, and then you give it attention. I think that a lot of the people drop the step after intention visioning and say, okay, that's it, I'm done, I've done this, and now it needs to happen for me. And from my experience, it doesn't really work like that, because you need to give it attention, meaning that you are revisiting your intention, you're revisiting your vision on regular basis, daily. And you can do this through affirmation, you can do this through prayer, you can do this through meditation, but it's like watering a plant. You're really adding on that love, that compassion, that nourishment to your intention, to your vision, and you allow it to grow. And then you can see it as well coming into your life. And then also you're focusing on it. It's something that it matters to your life. You don't get distracted, because sometimes in creative processes, we just don't give it enough focus. We just get carried away with this and carried away with that, and it kind of keeps on kind of competing with the other priorities that you have in your creation. But when you really want something in your life and you're in co-creative relationship with the environment around you, focus is absolutely important. So those 4 steps will really get you to the space of, okay, now it's there, and suddenly you can witness.
I love that you said that, because that whole idea of creating a new reality for ourselves, or a new future for ourselves, and staying in the lane. That's what you're saying. Keep revisiting it, affirm, prayer, meditation, or whatever it is that you need. But
Mm-hmm.
how would you what would you recommend that people can do to keep the focus and not get distracted? Because that's what
Yeah.
sometimes happens. Yeah, other thing, life happens, and the
Life
distraction
takes over.
and the opportunity dissolves away, it fades away, and what happens is that you deviate from that main vision.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it happened many times.
I know, me too.
And the window of opportunity, there is a window of opportunity, to be very honest with you. When you put the energy into the motion and you begin consciously creating, the window opens up. And if you are distracted, you just miss it. It's like missing the train. And okay, train is gone. Somebody's sitting on the train that I was supposed to meet, and now I need to wait another lifetime to be able to meet them once again, because how the universe is going to conspire to get us together once again. So to maintain that focus, one of the things that I would say is to minimize the distractions of life and to really have a daily practice when you really focus on what it matters the most that day. And to kind of repeat and revisit even the little ritual in the morning when you wake up and you remember, remember what is the most important thing for me to focus on today. That intention is there. So that's daily practice. And also, I'm not going to sell coaching to anybody. Having a coach, it's an amazing thing. When you have somebody who is externally working with you and keeping you on track and keeping you accountable to yourself, that support structure is amazing. If you don't have funds to hire the coach, have a best friend, have a mother, father, somebody who loves you, who cares about you, and who can consistently remind you that this needs to be your chosen focus instead of being consumed by millions of things that happen in life, including social media, right?
But I love that you talk about that attention, on it and the daily practice, because like you said, I think that's often the area that is missed, but yet so important in anything that you're working towards, right? It's a bit of the detail, right? In a sense, it's that detail of every morning, maybe it's writing in your little journal and saying, today, I want joy in my life, or whatever that might be, right? But and that's a part that is often so difficult for people
That's
to
it.
bring in, right?
Yeah, that's it. But it requires discipline. And I think that, when I go to my coach, one of the conversations is like, how disciplined are you? And sometimes I would be really disciplined and sometimes I would not, and I would forget about it. I would be lazy. But I guess, we all know that we need to put in a little bit of work inside of the creation. And we need to if you're consciously creating, you need to add on your willingness, your discipline. Exactly, Nancy, what you said, mornings, they have to be spaces for your ritual. And when you have a little bit of discipline, you begin seeing and sensing things unfolding, it gives you more energy and then you get more power. The beginning, it's always challenging, right?
Yeah.
But then later on, when this relationship shows up in your life that we're talking about, and you're like, oh my God, look what I've created. That's my conscious creation. That's the time when you are super empowered to then apply this without even thinking, because it works, right? And you would say, I've done it, I know it works, and therefore I have energy to do it, and I will be doing it. And even if it requires more discipline in my life.
Love that.
So this term about optimal delusion, you've heard of it?
Yes.
The craziness of believing something to such a degree, and everyone just thinks you're a crazy person because, hey, you're on the wrong track. Hello. And I just remember my mother telling me I was such a discontented child for wanting the things that I wanted. And then when I had it, she was like going, oh, you're such a lucky girl, Sabrina. And well, she's not going to be watching this because she's got Alzheimer's. But I do remember that there was a degree of optimal delusion and self-belief that I actually thought and believed it 110% in my heart that I would have what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, how much of that you how you help people to stay on with that. Yeah, because is it a delusion, an illusion, or reality?
It's a wonderful question, and I think that it's everything needs to be part of everything. What I would say to that is that one of the most challenging part about conscious co-creation is doubt. So when you set certain things into motion and you want to co-create, and if you have this little tiny grain of doubt, like it doesn't need to be big, like I'm doubting my creative abilities. It can be a little tiny thing that is like, oh, I really don't know if this is, am I really worthy of this relationship? Or, love doesn't exist, or this will never happen in my life. The good fortunes for somebody else, but for me, oh my God, for me, I'm unlucky, and I have an evidence. I have, whole data back what happened to me previously to prove this to myself. So what I'm saying is that doubt creeps in. And with this optimal delusion, I think it's very important to keep the belief and to keep even the faith, if you want to go beyond belief, into your ability to create. Because if you look into your body, if you look into your own personal evolution, if you revisit your entire life up to this point, you would realize that creation happens naturally and that you have been creating all the time. You just forgot to do it consciously. And that is empowering in itself, right? So what you had, I had the same thing. I think it's very, very important to have this belief, even if everybody else tells you this is you're never going to get this, forget about it. I use example of my nephew, who is an actor, who came into the profession and everybody told him, you're never going to be successful as an actor. The percentage wise, it's so very few people that will be successful. And he kept it. He believed in it. Even though reality told him, you're delusional, find the better job, become a stock trader, go to the bank, whatever people are saying. But to keep that belief, it's super important. So.
Super.
Thank you so much. I think that's I love the idea that you brought in, which is around the obstacle, which is the self-doubt, and the belief system, which are the limiting beliefs that we all kind of have niggling at the back of our mind. And Nancy, one of the things that I've always really loved about Nancy is that when she's there, she's so on, she does not deviate, she just stays on point, and she doesn't waver, Nancy, how do you do that? I want to know.
Self-discipline. I think self-discipline is probably, for me, a strong point, and the ability to focus when I want to. Sabrina always jokes about how I was determined to be in another relationship after my divorce, and she was always saying, I don't know how you did that.
That quickly.
But I mean, it's just not a silly, but it's an important example of just, I visualized I knew I was going to be. I never doubted that.
Yeah, but there you go. You just said it there, Nancy. I never doubted that.
I never
doubted.
I never doubted that. And I did. I gave it attention, so in different ways, for my own well-being, parts of it, as well as, getting out there, or, and I was disciplined about it in a way, not in a strange, today I'm gonna, make a list, but, it was present, and it was there in my life. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. There are so many tangents to this conversation that we could go to. It's and I'm looking at the time for today, so thinking that we should close. And Sabrina, any?
Yes. I do actually have a thought about what we can talk about next week. And thank you, Zoran. You just triggered my mind. And I thought we'd talk about saviors and saboteurs next week.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I want to listen into that one.
I like it because there was, even in this conversation, there was that side of it because of thinking, all those situations where things are not going well, and that's that. So looking forward to that conversation next week.
Yeah. And they can be things or people. And if you'd like to come back on, Zoran. We can talk about.
Absolutely. I want to listen into that. I will be a participant because that's a beautiful follow through on this conversation. You got the topic. It's really wise what you chosen. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Zoran. Very much valued your input.
You're welcome. Always a joy. Thank you so much for inviting me.